Oh my gosh, this shit is being buggy as fuck. I don't know if it's the storms coming through or what. So fingers crossed. Prayers to anybody that's being affected today by these storms. There's been some nasty tornadoes down south and up north. Tornadoes coming through. I guess between about 8 o'clock my time, which is in about 45 minutes. So from about that point until about 1 or 2 in the morning is when we're at our peak for those storms. So keep your fingers crossed, please. Who knows what the hell's going to happen? Whenever we get these storms, I always tend to lose power because these frickin' power lines around here blow. It's crazy. Lowest windstorm will knock power out. Yeah, so prayers and fingers crossed, everybody. It's been crazy out there today. Been watching Ryan Hall, y'all, for a lot of the day today. Just try and keep track of all the people out there. I want to... Allison Faye, I hope you're safe. Silky Southern Tea, I hope you're safe. Anybody along the south there. We got some tornadoes, Dre. Hope you're safe in Iowa there. Iowa, Illinois, Arkansas, Missouri. And then it's just going to keep going on eastward. Yeah, everybody please be safe. So we'll see. I don't know. This thing, it's cutting in and out like crazy, and I have a feeling it has to do with these storms because it just didn't... It wasn't doing nothing until about, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, and then all of a sudden everything was just getting real choppy. So we'll see what happens. Got some interesting news tonight. I'm sure most of you have heard. 2 persons of interest in the Stephen Smith case. I don't know. We'll get into that here after I say hey to everybody and get to your chats. I got some really... I don't know. I'm confused. I'm very confused. I'll tell you why here in a few minutes. And we'll open up panel as well. So if anybody would like to join, you're more than welcome when I get that link through out there. What's up, Kevin Kraft? What's up, Kib Kitty? Skittles. Thank you, Kib Kitty. I appreciate that. I don't know how long I'm going to be on. Walked into an emergency at work. What, some of them storms? Oh, I just noticed a new picture. That's cool, Skittles. Hey, what's up, Dre? Hopefully you're safe. What's up, Grizz? How you doing tonight, buddy? SRB, thank you for your help. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I don't know. I'm confused. Very confused. If you like that true crime intro. Are you at 100 yet, Grizz? You had 98 yesterday. I was like, we need 2 people. Come on, people. Let's get this man to 100. It was just raining crazy. Yeah, please be safe, everybody. Seems okay over there. Thanks. We had thunderstorms and hail. Hold on a minute. Snow? And then a tornado the next day? This weather is getting crazy. I just don't understand. Man, what the heck is going on? I just don't understand. Let's get the banners going. Thank you, everybody, for hopping in. The first, then snow. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you're having thunderstorms and hail and tornado watch right now. And then tonight 2 to 6 inches of snow? When in the hell does that ever happen? Welcome, everybody. If you haven't hit the like, please do. It's the free way to help all of us out. And if you're just joining, please hit the sub if I earned it. That, then snow. I don't understand. So, let me see here. I may have found, ooh, pretty sure yes. Ooh, nice, SRB. Thank you. Okay. This is crazy. Where's... That's a given us. Man. Yeah, we're gonna... I don't know. We're gonna try and get into this. I don't know. This don't make sense. These two people of interest. I don't know. It just does not make sense. So let me turn this down a little bit, and then we will get going into it. Let's see. We'll go right there, and then we're going to share this. And
Peterson is innocent. Always has been.
Whoa.
There are people who are fighting to get him out.
Whoa. I don't want to play it. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, that's an ad. So this has a video to it? Why is it doing that? Alright, Fox and Friends. I don't understand why it's doing that. Alright, let me go ahead and get the panel link out there. If you'd like to join, you're more than welcome. We're going to be talking about the two persons of interest that came out today in the Stephen Smith case. They named them. We went over this theory before in the Theories and Interviews video. We were kind of jotting everything down. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play some of these articles here, read through some of these articles as well. There's a couple small video clips, and then we're going to kind of listen to the whole story of how these two people came into this. But I want to... the reason I included Marc tonight is because he was supposedly the last one that spoke was Stephen. And when we were going through that video of the Theories and Interviews, he was saying some really interesting stuff when it came to the last moments. So we're going to listen to what Marc says first. Then we're going to listen to how Shawn and Patrick came into the story. And then I'm going to explain to you where I'm confused and kind of what I'm thinking. It just I don't know. I'll just say it doesn't make sense to me right now.
What I'm thinking.
What's up, Kid Kitty?
It just I don't know.
Oh,
I turned
okay.
back.
There-
I turned that background down.
Okay. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right. Are you guys supposed to be getting any storms tonight?
I haven't heard anything for here. So I'm not sure. I think I would have heard something by now.
Yeah. So what'd you
We
think
had a little
about
rain today, but sorry.
what'd you think about the two names that got released today?
Well, you had mentioned them a while back, but I don't know.
I'm confused.
It'll be interesting what we find out.
It don't make sense to me, but I'll kind of get
No.
into that after we kind of watch everything, read through and watch. I'll kind of get into where I'm at because when I first heard it, I don't know.
I don't know.
I was just like, I don't understand the Randy part in two areas. I don't understand, but we'll get into
Right.
that. We'll get into that after we listen to what Marc has to say, and then what the whole how Shawn and Patrick got into this story. I find it interesting.
I'm just confused.
Yeah, I find it interesting that both of the attorneys for Stephen Smith are going with the hit and run theory.
Right. I
heard
still
that a
don't
couple
buy
days
that
ago.
it's a hit and run.
We heard that a couple days ago, and I'm just like, I don't know.
I still don't believe it's a hit and run.
I don't know. I just kind of go back to when Eric Bland was talking, and he was saying, asking everybody for patience because this is his first time doing anything like this, or kind of being involved in this kind of case.
Right.
So I'm wondering where I still think something's sticking out of the window, my personal opinion. I think it's very interesting when we get into what Daryl is Patrick's dad, okay? And Daryl was the one that was talking to Ellie. So we're going to hear Daryl's version of events when he's talking about Patrick and Shawn. And I don't know, Patrick, the way he acted according to what Daryl said took place doesn't make sense. If somebody just thinks that their friend called them and said, "Hey, I don't know if I hit something," because I would
Right.
just instantly think, "What? A deer, a raccoon? What? Like what?" I wouldn't
Right.
automatically think something that's going to make me run out to the front yard and puke. So I'm wondering if that was just some kind of cover story. If that's the case, I don't know. We'll get into it. Let me see here. I'm going to watch this Fox and Friends video. And this is an article that kind of explains why is it doing that. Stephen Smith Death ruled homicide after Buster Murdaugh denied involvement. Now SLED has come out and said that Patrick Wilson and Shawn Conley are the two persons of interest now, according to them today. Those are really cool shirts on the side.
Do you think
Sorry,
they're just putting those? Do you think they're just putting those guys' names out there as people of interest to ward off anybody getting suspicious if they're being suspected?
No. Oh,
No.
no. I don't want to get into too much right away. I want to save it for the end, but I'm kind of thinking that they're using it to get to the bigger fish, but I'll explain that after we read through and watch everything here real quick.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and hit play on this. We'll see what Fox and Friends has to say. This just came out today.
2015, it was the death of a South Carolina teenager found near the property belonging to the Murdaugh family and is now considered a homicide. South Carolina investigators initially ruled the death of Stephen Smith an accident. This comes as his family plans to pull his body from the grave, and a strong denial of involvement from the surviving son of convicted killer Alex Murdaugh. Fox Nation host Nancy Grace joins us now. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning. Yes, it's quite the saga playing out again in South Carolina. It's very unusual. This case, as you said, happened back in 2015. So why has it bubbled up to the surface in a full boil now? Well, reportedly, during the investigations of the double murder of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, some evidence came forth to SLED, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, that this was in fact a murder. And they have outright said it is a murder, and that through some shifting of various law enforcement, it was never investigated as anything but a hit and run. But let me remind everybody, a hit and run is not mutually exclusive with a murder. A murder can be a hit and run. There was one visible wound to Stephen Smith's head, about a 7-inch laceration on one side of his head. But what troubled his mother, Sandy, is that there are no skid marks. There's no debris like glass or plastic from a car. Nothing to indicate that there was actually a car accident. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. Interesting, it was staged, according to some sources, to look like he had run out of gas. A cell phone with him, and he never tried to call anybody. Also, his body was in the middle of the road, as if it had been put there on purpose for somebody else to run over, for somebody to find. I drove the area. It's about 8 miles from Moselle, where Pat, Maggie, and Paul were murdered, and it's pitch dark. I guarantee you, if Stephen Smith had been walking in the middle of the street, which I doubt, he would have seen headlights coming.
Yeah, and his shoes were still on. Most experts say if it's a hit and run, the shoes usually fly off. His mom thinks that he was murdered somewhere else and then placed there in the road. So we'll see. Also, you have a very interesting special coming up. Oh, by the way, Buster says he did not do this. We do want to say that. So, he's not guilty of this. They're going to investigate. You have a special. This sounds fascinating. Children of Serial Killers, a Nancy Grace investigation. What did you learn? Because what do they say about their parents?
It was amazing what these children have to say, because how can they, for the rest of their lives, trust anybody? I grew up loving my mom and dad. I would never believe they did anything wrong. But these children, now adults, are grappling with the fact that their parents are killers. In fact, some of them have already been executed. Some of them say they look at their own hands and they see their dad's hands. And these are the worst of the worst. The Craigslist killer, the chameleon killer, the classified ad killer. Some of them responsible for 50 rapes and dozens of murders.
Do they have normal lives?
For the rest of their
now?
lives, they try to, but many of them are convinced that the murder gene is within them, and they think they have to fight it. I mean, it just hangs over their whole lives for the rest of their life and their family.
Oh, no, God's bigger than that. God is bigger than evil. Thank you so much.
And it's interesting because she brings up a good point. Every single LE stated that they saw no signs. If you go to the deep dive number 3 video, you can see the interviews that we were showing with the LE that was there, and every single one of them say that there was no signs whatsoever. They even went to the pathologist when they found out she was trying to rule it a hit and run. They went and threw fits because of that. I just don't understand. And the two people of interest that they have today are considered the people, or one of them is considered the person that did the hit and run. So I don't know. Whoops. So this is Moselle's right here. The body was right here. Now, Shawn Connolly, this is the road he would have been driving on to go home. Up here, and then right there. So we're going to go to Eric Allen again. And I guess he actually is down in South Carolina right now. So I think he's going to be putting together something in the near future. But he's got a lot of these interviews put together when it comes to Marc, when it comes to Daryl, and what Daryl's reporting. And let me see here. So we'll go ahead and listen to these. And then I'll let you guys kind of hear what's being said, and I'll kind of pause it and just kind of talk about different things. Is there anything you want to say real quick before we start watching this?
No.
The interview? Yeah, no. I watched that. Yeah, mud on the tread part of the shoe. Yes, some was dry and some was wet, walking on an asphalt. Yes, that was a very good episode. The interview room. I wish I could. If anybody has any timestamps you can give me, I know it's like an hour and a half. I did listen to it while I was at work, and it was very interesting. If there's any timestamps anybody wants to give me, I can go ahead and bring those up. I just don't recall any timestamps for those certain parts. But yeah, it was very interesting about the mud. Mud dry, mud that was wet, showed the road, showed the side of the road. I believe the... I'm not sure. Are we not able to? It is very odd. This whole case is odd. And... you know, we'll have some graphic content coming up later because it does kind of go with the whole theory of the hit and run, and if it appears to be that or such. Yeah, I appreciate that, SRB. Let me know, because that is a very good point. It's something that I didn't even think about until I watched that. So thank you for that link too. For that interview room show. It was really good. Never thought about it. But I wasn't looking that close at the evidence either. I just wanted to show that stuff. Just for a hot minute, and that was about it. All right, thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to this Eric Allen video, and this is going to have some of the interviews. And so that's Eric Allen. Very good channel.
Last time we...
Oh my gosh. All right, so let's get rid of that. I'm going to go back to the beginning here. We'll zoom it in. I'll put his link to his channel in chat. So if you're not subbed to him, you can. There we go for that. All right, so we're going to listen. This is Marc, the supposed boyfriend. And just pay attention to what he's saying when he's talking about if he was asking Steven if he was walking. And then hear what he says about that.
At Steven's wake, a man that the family had never met before showed up.
When he came to the wake, he popped out of nowhere. And he asked my aunt, is this Steven Smith's family and everything? And my aunt said, yeah. And he was like, well, I'm Steven's boyfriend. What got me was my dad told me to take him in there to go see Steven. And I said, brace yourself, it don't look like him. He's like, I'm fine. He stopped at the door, called somebody and said, yes, Steven's dead. And then hung up, didn't say nothing else. Then we walked to the casket and he looked, he's like, what was it? I said, a hit and run. And then he was like, no, he was beat to death. And I kind of looked at him like, how would you know? And then he was like, was he sexually assaulted? I said, I don't know. You know, and then he left.
So this man claims to be Steven's boyfriend. The officers interview Marc at his house. Before you listen, I want to help you understand.
See, and this is what's interesting right there. He asked his sister at the funeral if he had been assaulted. Why would you ask somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, he was beaten to death. So that's obviously an assault in its own. So when you're asking the assault question, you're kind of leaning it towards the other kind of assault because you already talked about another type of assault. Yeah, that too. Are you on mute, Kip Kitty?
No.
Oh. Yeah, right. Who did Marc call to say that Steven had passed?
I mean, that was weird in itself.
Yeah.
And then the assault thing.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah, like, why would you ask if he was assaulted? And I have a feeling. See, Marc feels that it's tied to the escort service. And you gotta think, like, I used to buy and sell stuff on Craigslist in the early 2000s. And when they had the, what do they call him? The Craigslist killer, where he was offering employment to people that were hard up for work, and he was taking them out in the field and shooting them.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
My coworker at Head Start at the time dated that guy.
What?
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, when I heard that story, I quit selling shit on Craigslist. So Craigslist has always been sketchy.
Right.
For the longest. And that's what was being used was Craigslist. So I don't know, I'm wondering why. Yeah, he asked if there was an assault beyond the assault of getting beat to death, but then, well, SRB, Kevin and I, we really didn't get to go, and maybe we can do that tomorrow because it is interesting. How can I have a theory. I have a theory with Marc. And I have when you dig into his story, it seems like he was wanting and acting like things were a hell of a lot more than what they really were.
Right.
Like way off balance. Way off balance. And so, yeah, SRB, I could see that it could. I have a feeling, like in that theory, when it comes to Marc, which is just speculation, of course. But when I have that theory, it totally deals with jealousy. Jealousy is the motive. And in that theory, I think it has to do with the fishing trip.
Yeah, I agree on this Marc dude is strange. And maybe he was really obsessed with Steven. And
I think it was.
if kind of like, if I can't have him, nobody will. Kind of.
Well, here's the crazy thing about Marc. He offered to take a polygraph test. Did you know that he has yet to take one?
Offering to do it and actually doing it.
When it came time to LE to reach out to him for this polygraph test, they couldn't get a hold of him. And he was claiming that, and I apologize if I get the country wrong, but I think it was Cambodia. He said that somebody had called him up and said he better do this or he's going to end up dead like his boyfriend. And that's supposedly what he told LE, and then he quit contacting LE back, and they couldn't get a hold of him. And as far as I know, that's been reported is that he has yet to take a polygraph test. But I will get into my Marc theory. I think Kevin said he'd be in an open panel tomorrow night, and I would like to have him on panel so he can explain it, because me and him are kind of in similar paths when it comes to this Marc gentleman. Because I don't know. Once we get into what we're going to hear from Eric Allen in these interviews and stuff, and then the story about how Shawn and Patrick are connected and all this other stuff, I'm interested to hear what you think. I don't know. It just doesn't seem. Whenever we went through all these theories the other show, I thought this one was the least probable. And there's two reasons why, and it deals with one name. But we'll hear what Marc has to say. I'll go ahead and rewind it just a little bit.
He stopped at the door, called somebody and said, yes, Steven's dead, and then hung up. Didn't say nothing else. Then we walked to the casket, and he looked. He's like, what was it? I said, a hit and run. And then he was like, no, he was beat to death. And I kind of looked at him like, how would you know? And then he was like, was he sexually assaulted? I said, I don't know. And then he left.
So this man claims to be Steven's boyfriend. The officers interview Marc at his house. Before you listen, I want to help you understand Marc a bit. Marc is in his late 40s. In the interview, he says he takes a drug called Seroquel. Seroquel is used to treat bipolar and schizophrenia. He oftentimes says things that don't quite make sense or goes off on seemingly unrelated tangents.
How long have y'all been together?
His birthday is the 29th of January. He was shaking his booty at the club, and he wasn't even 18. So that's probably why that club was closed, because his birthday is the 29th. And
but what I'm saying, how long have y'all been together?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He was shaking his butt at the club.
So you met him back in January, basically.
When he supposedly was 18, but his birthday is not until the 19th.
Right.
29th, I mean.
So you met him.
He wasn't even 18, but we didn't do anything because he had to leave.
Okay.
Steven was 19 when he died, so it would have been about a year and a half prior to his death that Marc first met Steven. He explains that he and Steven were texting and calling the day and night that Steven died. Marc recalls speaking with Steven and hearing trucks and tires going down the road, as well as dogs barking, which led Marc to believe that Steven was walking down the road. Marc says the cell signal cut off, and that's the last time that he spoke with Steven.
When was the last time you talked to Steve?
That night.
All right. About what time? Not the text, but about what time is the last time you talked to him?
You have to remember with all this, I took my Seroquel sometime. I can't remember if the call came.
I'm just asking for a roundabout time.
I can't remember if it came after the text or before the text, because the last call I heard, I asked him on one of the calls, are you walking? Because he already told me he was out of gas. He was running out of gas. One of the calls before. And I says, are you walking? Because I hear cars going by, and his answer to me was no. And then the call dropped.
Do you remember if it was day?
And then the call dropped. He said no because he didn't want him to come pick him up. But isn't that weird how he was supposedly supposed to be coming over that night, but then he runs out of gas and he calls him and he says, are you walking? And he says no. Doesn't ask him to come bring him gas or anything. I don't know. That's just weird.
It is.
That don't make any sense at all.
Daytime or nighttime when it was this going on?
This was at night. This is 3 a.m.
Okay.
I believe the last text, if my mind calls me correct, that I looked at it was 3:37 a.m.
Now, was he coming over here?
He was supposed to be. He was supposed to be on the way, but from what I'm learning, he was headed home.
I did some research.
And to head home? Well, like, this is what I'm going to show this. This is what doesn't make sense either. Okay. I'm going to get rid of some of these other locations here. Okay. So if he was heading home, right? Walking distance, you're going to tell me that you would rather walk an hour? You would rather walk an hour and a half than have Marc come pick you up if you were supposed to be going to Marc's? An hour and a half walk?
Right.
Now, I could see him saying, no, I'm not walking, because then maybe he was waiting for somebody to come bring him gas. But then the weird thing about that is that the mom said that his sister Stephanie waited up all night.
Right.
In case he called. So
maybe
obviously he didn't call his sister or his
right. Maybe Steven was getting to know Marc a little better and not liking it. And that's why he didn't call Marc to come and bring him gas or whatever. That's why he was heading home.
Well, this is what I'm thinking, because the sister, Stephanie, had said that somebody was harassing him for a couple weeks, and then they became friends. And so I was kind of wondering, is that Marc? And maybe Steven was like, you know what? This dude is crazy. I can't get rid of him. I don't know how to get rid of him. So maybe if I try and be friends, then at least he won't do nothing crazy.
That's a thought.
Because why would you have somebody harassing you right? You have somebody harassing you that's bothering you, and then all of a sudden you're friends. But you'll hear that
Right.
when she starts talking about it. We'll get back to this video. Yeah, it's just a lot of this does not make sense already.
3:37 a.m.
Was he coming over here?
He was supposed to be on the way, but from what I'm learning, he was headed home.
I did some research on Marc and found some interesting things. Underage boys seems to be a recurring theme. You heard earlier Marc talking about Steven when he was underage, but Marc claims that he was unaware. I found a comment thread on Marc's Facebook about 1 month after Steven's death. Here's what it read. Look, leave Raymond alone or you're going to have to deal with me, and you won't like where you go. I have not said nothing bad to Raymond at all, we just talk. So if you have something to say to me, say it, but don't backtalk me. I am his aunt and he is 16, so you need to keep your gay comments to yourself and delete him, because you will be turned in for child if you don't. Thank you, have a nice day. He said he was 18 years old to me, so I did not know. I did not send him anything, pick me at all. So if there is a pic of me, it is not mine. The third mention of underage boys was in an interview with Jessica Smith.
He said him and Steven got in an argument about this 22-year-old, whatever. So he showed me his phone.
You know the 22-year-old we're talking about?
All I know is in Marc's phone it says the 22-year-old I met in the store. But Marc told me he never met the guy. He showed me pictures of this guy, and I swear he looked 13. He showed me full
body picture.
Yes, okay. And this guy looked 13, and I told him, I said, that's like my nephew right there. He's 8, and he's got a body like that. You know, this guy didn't hit puberty or nothing. He was like, but he's 22. And I'm like, okay.
Jessica also doesn't believe that Marc knew Steven nearly as long as Marc claims. As I looked through Marc's Facebook, I found plenty of posts about Steven, but almost all of them were after his death. The earliest post I could find was a few months before Steven's death, when Marc changed his relationship status. Looking at this post, I remembered that you can add and change life events retroactively, and figured out that he actually posted this 2 weeks and 2 days before Steven's death.
2 weeks and 2 days before.
Wow.
And it doesn't say with so-and-so. Steven never even got on Marc's Facebook. There's no likes from him. There's no comments from him. There's no tags. See why I think this fishing trip has something to do with it in a small way with this theory? I have a feeling like, yeah, hey, you were supposed to come to my house. Hey, can we meet at this spot off the road over here so we can just talk, Steven? Because really, in this theory speculation, I'm not really planning on doing something at my home. I'm gonna do it somewhere else. I don't know. We'll get into that on the when we get into the theories discussion. I have a whole theory in my head, and I kind of want to let it out, and I've been waiting to let it out, but I can't do it tonight. We got to stick to this stuff.
Oh, you're gonna make us wait?
Well, Marc claims to have known Steven for a year and a half.
What? Oh shoot! Crap.
I said, oh, you're gonna make us wait?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because it's just these exploring theories, I've been waiting to do. But we're going to stick to these two guys and Marc tonight. We're not going to get into his theory that's without those guys. We're going to kind of stick to those guys tonight, and then take what Marc has to say about the two gentlemen, or what is kind of linked in a way, I feel. And then we'll explore that theory. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just wondering if they're using it for something else.
When Marc changed his relationship status. Looking at this post, I remembered that you can add and change life events retroactively, and figured out that he actually posted this 2 weeks and 2 days before Steven's death. So Marc claims to have known Steven for a year and a half, but the first time he posts about Steven is only 16 days before his death.
Right.
It's possible they knew each other for longer.
And is it possible that's when Steven became friends with the person that was harassing him?
But I definitely found this interesting, especially in the context of this next clip.
You said he started acting real funny about his life, I guess, about what he was doing. And it was about 2 weeks prior to his death.
He was acting a little secretive.
Okay, so he was becoming more secretive then. And was that with the whole family, including you?
Yeah, that was with the whole family.
Could Marc be responsible for the death of Steven? Maybe, but Marc is extremely open to the cops thoroughly investigating him.
Of course
Let me
he
ask
would
you this
be.
question. You willing to take a lie detector test saying you don't know anything about his death or had anything to do with that death?
I know a lot about what.
I didn't ask you that. Are you willing to?
I'm willing to take a lie detector test. You want me to bend over backwards? You want me to do whatever you need me to do? I'm telling you, I'm not the one.
Okay.
I don't care what you want me to do.
Okay.
I will do anything you need.
Okay.
You want to search the house? Go ahead and do what you got to do. I'm telling you.
like I said.
Yeah, because nothing took place there. It took place somewhere else. Of course you could search the house.
Right.
And it's just an odd comment. Do you want me to bend over backwards? Like, what?
Right.
I don't know. It's sketchy.
You want to search the car? Search the car.
Right now.
I have no issue with whatever you
I
want to
know,
do.
and like I said,
I'm not the one you're looking for.
Right now, you're the closest thing though that we get information from.
Now, what I know is I feel that the escort agency has something to do with this.
All right. If you don't want to hear anything about the escort agency, just go ahead and skip ahead 10 minutes or pause it for 10 minutes and then just scoot up to the live. Just out of respect for whoever doesn't want to hear this part.
I need to preface this theory. I contemplated deeply about including this theory in the video. It's information that Steven might not want out there. But I also know that by putting this out there, there's a chance that if people start talking about it, the truth ends up coming out and we actually get justice for Steven Smith. In Marc's interview, it comes up that Steven was using an escort service and Craigslist to make money. If Marc was the only one who said this, I probably wouldn't even include it as a theory, but Jessica Smith confirms this activity is something that was going on. From what I can tell, it doesn't seem like it had been going on for very long.
Did you ever know of Steven advertising on these chat rooms or anything? I mean,
Yeah, he put himself out there.
So he did let people know he was available.
Yeah.
And when we say advertising, we're talking about for money as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he started getting real secretive, it's pop.
And I just want to say I didn't feel comfortable playing anything like this until I heard the sister admit everything and actually discuss it with Ellie. Then I'm like, okay, then yes, this is part of the case. And like Eric Allen said, if this helps bring answers, then it has to be talked about. Thank you,
it has
SRB,
to be
for putting that up.
transparent.
And we'll be getting into some of these pictures later on too. And it's the same thing. It's something that maybe we don't want to, even with Flora Fire last night, you know, it's just some things have to be discussed.
Possibility that he might have been doing some of that, receiving.
This family needs
charges,
answers.
and he may not want to talk.
In addition to Craigslist, there was an escort service that Steven may have been involved with.
What I know is I feel that the escort agency has something to do with this. Because he told me when he came Saturday that I was going to have to get waxed down, everything, and look like a boy. And it was going to be, and I said, I'm not comfortable with father-son deal when we're boyfriend and boyfriend.
okay. Where's the escort agency?
That I don't know because I only learned about this a couple of weeks ago. I don't have information on what escort agency, where it is. any of the kids, the younger kids, I hate to say it, and it's sick as a could be, if they're 19 or if they're 25 or 36, they want them looking like boys. 90% of these guys that are using the escort agency are guys that have money, and they're usually older, and they're looking for guys that look like kids.
But it seems like the escort agency actually offered a bit of protection, and Craigslist, or freelance as Marc will put it, is where the real danger is.
The reason why we use escort agencies, Craigslist is entirely a no-no a lot of times. People are getting killed. An escort agency, how it works is if I go out on a job, once I get to my destination, I call there. They know I'm there. Once I go in and meet with the customer, if I move to another location or they want to move me, I got to call the escort agency. That's the difference about using an escort agency and doing a freelance.
Wow, he sure knows a lot about that, don't he?
Freelance, you're going to wind up somewhere dead.
But he didn't know what agency was being. You don't think so?
I think he knows.
If you're in a relationship and you're in a new relationship and you wouldn't, I don't know. It don't make no sense.
He's just
good evening, Jinx. Yeah, very sketchy. Very, very sketchy. If you'd like to hop up on panel, you're more than welcome, Jinx. We're talking about Stephen Smith and the new 2 persons of interest. We're just kind of listening to what Marc has to say. He does say some interesting things that I feel are tied into this theory of the 2 people that were named as persons of interest today. So if you know anything about this, yeah, feel free to share. This is Kib Kitty who's on panel right now. Did I get my email? I have not checked them. I will check them. Yes, Kib Kitty's up on panel. And thank you again for putting that up there, SRB. I appreciate that. That allows me to throw that up there real quick. Thank you. So he's basically, this is Steven's supposed boyfriend. They got in a relationship on according to his Facebook, 2 weeks prior to his unaliving. And he just says some very interesting things. I'll go ahead and if anybody hasn't watched this, I'll drop the link in chat and you can save it to a playlist and check it out sometime. Very interesting interviews, and we're going to go into some other ones here as well. But yes, when we finish up, he'll kind of get into it in about 10 minutes. This escort agency part will be over in about 6. And in about 10, he'll start talking about the things that I want you guys to pay attention to when it comes to these 2 persons of interest that came out today.
Steven's mother finds a pass to a gated community on Hilton Head in Steven's car. The police reach out to the gentleman.
How did you meet Steven?
So he had placed an ad on Craigslist, so I responded to it. And so he met me I guess it was the evening of June 28th.
Okay. You're not going to be in any trouble for how you answer this question, but for this, was any money exchanged?
No.
Okay. About how many times did you talk to him prior to that to plan the meeting?
I think we only texted that day. I would never do any harm to anybody, but I know there are some crazy people out there, so I don't do this kind of thing very often, but I just, you read about some bad things that happen once in a while.
Huh. I don't think that this man had anything to do with Steven's death, but this shows that he was not only posting, but actually following through and meeting up with people as well. Craigslist has actually taken down this section of their website because it was just too dangerous for people. 2 weeks leading up to Steven's death, he was acting out of character and coming home late. The night of his death, he was out at 3 a.m. Could Steven's death have been a Craigslist meetup gone wrong? It seems like a real possibility.
When he was supposed to meet Marc. So in Marc's interview, he mentions that the night Steven was unalive, Steven told Marc he was being harassed and felt like he was being followed.
From that gas station, right?
Right.
he said that he was being harassed at that store.
Right here.
He said it was a couple of guys in a pickup truck. He said they were rednecks.
Couple guys in a pickup truck.
The last time we talked, that night, before the phone went down, I heard big mud tires. Big mud tires.
Everything okay?
Oh, sorry about that.
Happened.
No, it was on mute. I'm sitting here talking. I'm sitting here talking, and I'm like, but yeah.
I should have spoke up sooner.
No, Jinx, I appreciate you hopping in and sharing that case with us. And Silky was wondering if Monday would be okay. I told her I'd ask you. Yeah, and then how do you hear the big mud tires? Unless the truck was right there. Well, that's what he said. He said he said he heard the muddy tires or big mud tires or whatever right before the phone cut out. So I don't know, it's just weird. See, now what Mark is saying at the end there kind of lines up with the theory of Shawn and Patrick. Now, when we start getting into the theory of Shawn, just remember this is Daryl, Patrick's dad, and Patrick is friends with Shawn. So just remember that as we're listening to these interviews, Daryl is talking to Ellie. Daryl is Patrick's dad, and Patrick is Shawn's friend. Shawn is the one supposedly driving the truck. And then I'm going to come back to this map again here, and I'm going to let you see this is where Shawn, who was driving the truck, where he was heading home. This is where, excuse me, this is where Stephen Smith was laying on the road. This is where Shawn was going home. He literally was driving down the road that Stephen Smith's body was found on the same road to go home. So he was driving down Sandy Run Road. Whoa, don't put a thing there. Whoops. So he was driving down Sandy Run Road and going home.
Down. I heard big mud tires. Big mud tires.
In December of 2015, 5 months after Stephen's death, a Hampton police officer reaches out to the highway patrol. He has some new information about Stephen's death. I'm going to put up a graphic for this conversation because, unlike rumor trains we have seen before, This one is relatively short, and the relationships are pretty strong. This doesn't guarantee that this is true, but in my opinion, it gives it a little bit more credibility when you really understand where it's coming from.
Sergeant again, this is Corporal Doug with the Highway Patrol.
Hey man, how you doing?
Good. I'm calling you in reference to, I believe somebody come to you about the case we have there in Hampton County, and I believe this come from is it a Darren? Is that correct?
It's Daryl.
Daryl. Okay.
Yep.
Do you know Daryl?
He is my stepdad technically. Daryl was dating Patrick's mama.
Okay.
So Patrick's basically, he just looked at him as a father figure. He'd take him fishing and hunting and things of that such. So.
Okay. Can you tell me what was told to you? We've tried to get in touch with Patrick, but he's kind of avoiding the call, the contact, and all.
Basically, Daryl called me and he said, "Look, this is what I was told. Patrick, come over here to the house. He told me that Shawn was drunk and hit something. He said he went back the next day to see what it was he had hit, and he seen a lot of police out there. And then he learned, I guess by media, that somebody had been killed in that same area. That's why the police were there. He said that Shawn called him crying, saying that that's what had happened.
Okay.
And then Patrick was telling Daryl, and Daryl told me that Patrick was crying, telling him, and after he got finished telling the story, he walked outside his house and threw up.
Okay.
He said, I think that Patrick was with him. He said, why else would he throw up?
Exactly. Why else would he say that Shawn called me that night and said that he hit something but didn't know, and he just went home because he was drunk, and then goes outside and throws up? That's what makes me think he was there that night too. Two guys in a pickup truck harassing at a gas station. What's up, Frantic Missy? I hope your kiddo feels better. Two guys at a gas station. I'm wondering what Shawn's truck back then looked like. Did it have those beefy tires on it? Did it have those extended mirrors? But again, the mom and the sister state he would never be walking on the road. He would be hiding in the woods until somebody came by, to the point where they would be driving by saying that they don't see him, and then he would say, "Oh, I see you now, I'm coming out." He would literally wait to come out of the woods until that person literally was driving by, because they had to turn around. So some stuff tells you it does, some stuff tells you it doesn't make sense. Yeah, let's do Monday night. I'll go ahead and put out a notification if you're for sure. I'll let Silky know, and we'll do Monday night. Man. This stuff is, it's just so confusing. I don't know.
Patrick was crying, telling him, and after he got finished telling the story, he walked outside his house and threw up.
Okay.
He said, I think that Patrick was with him. He said, why else would he throw up and get all upset like that? Because somebody else had done something.
Right. Did he go into any detail about how it happened?
Supposedly he had fixed his mirror. He had patched one of the mirrors up on the truck.
Okay, all right.
They try to reach out to Daryl and even go looking for Patrick, but are unable to connect with either of them.
Had a couple people out looking for Patrick. Do you know any other way we can contact him?
Mike can get a number. I'm not positive. I can't say that he would answer.
Right.
This one audio interview and a single paragraph in the case notes are the only things made available in the case files that I got from Highway Patrol. I decided to do some digging on my own. I checked out Patrick's accounts first. His Facebook only went back to 2019, but his Instagram went back to August of 2015, 1 month after Stephen was found dead. I did find this timing interesting. Either he just happened to create an Instagram 1 month after Stephen died, or he deleted everything from the time Stephen died and back. As I kept looking through Shawn's social media, I noticed that he hung out at a farm quite a bit. I remember there was a farm less than a mile down the road from where Stephen's body was found. The police even had a quick interview with the owner, a farmer named Mr. McMillan. Here's what it said. We then went to McMillan Farms on the same road, and Lieutenant Corporal Rowell and I spoke with Mr. McMillan, who runs the farm. After speaking with Mr. McMillan, he advised his trucks weren't running at this particular time since there was no grain to haul. Could this be the same farm that Shawn seems to spend so much time at? It seems like a long shot as there's so much farmland in that area, but I decided to try and figure it out. The first thing I noticed was most of Shawn's photos at the farm are in Crocketville. Crocketville is a small area outside of Hampton where Stephen's body was found. I then came across this photo with the hashtag McMillan Farms. Okay, so we know he spends time at that farm. Then I came across this picture of Shawn and his grandfather. Turns out Shawn's grandfather is Mr. McMillan, the man that the police spoke to the day Stephen died, less than a mile from the crime scene. Let me be clear here. None of this proves that Shawn was involved in Stephen's death. But looking at all of the evidence together, it does seem like this angle should be investigated much further. The last thing that we need to explore when looking at this theory is the timing of it.
We got this back on December the 9th, and we've had a couple of people out looking for Patrick.
Remember last episode when I said a tip came in about Xavier and Buster being involved in Stephen's death? This tip came in on December 7th. The tip about Shawn came in 2 days later on December 9th. Not much was going on 5 months after his death, so the timing of these makes me wonder if they are connected somehow. I can think of 3 reasons these tips came in so close together. 1, it really just is a coincidence, and they had nothing to do with each other. 2, the tip about Xavier and Buster was real, and potentially the Murdochs got Daryl to make up the Shawn story to throw the police off. Or 3, the tip about Patrick and Shawn is real, and the anonymous tip about Xavier and Buster is the one that was put in to throw the police off. We don't know how long it took for Daryl to contact the police after Patrick told him about Shawn. So it's totally possible that Daryl and Patrick's conversation took place before the Buster and Xavier tip was put in. There was one sentence in the police notes about the Shawn tip that I can't quite wrap my head around. The last sentence in the report says this: Daryl stated that the reason he was passing this information on was because Randy Murdoch told him to call. What does this mean? There is no explanation for the context of this, and there was no audio recording of Daryl speaking with an officer. Did Daryl reach out to Randy Murdoch for advice after Patrick told him about Shawn, and Randy told him to call the police? Or could this mean something else? I have no idea. So could the death of Stephen Smith be related to the murder of Paul and Maggie Murdoch? I actually think it's possible, and I have a theory that...
And if you want to watch, he's got a really good playlist on the whole Murdoch family and all the theories. Suzanne Andrews just hit me up and said, hey, check out what I just posted on Twitter. So I wanted to share this real quick. And if you're not following her, please follow her on Twitter if you have Twitter. She is the one that actually did the GoFundMe for the headstone and the headstone for the father. But if you can see, I'm going to go ahead and retweet that too. It's underway, everybody. So you know what that means when there's 2x4s underneath that.
Oh, geez.
It's underway.
Yep.
It's underway. And let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up that GoFundMe. We'll see where that's at. $117,000. If you would like to click the link, that's helping Sandy Smith with the exhumation, the autopsy, and covering any of the costs that it takes in order to get the right information, because we all feel that it was shoddy from the get-go. And now I'm going to go ahead and share Suzanne Andrews' hate crime bill, because I always like to share that when we're bringing this case up as well. Need to get to 5,000 signatures. Where are we at? Almost 4,000 now. We're almost there. So if you haven't signed this yet, please do. The website, she said that she was trying to make the donation thing go to a different part. You don't have to donate. The signature, they really need. It passes in the House. It just gets blocked in the Senate. And South Carolina is one of only 2 states that doesn't have a hate crime bill. So if you think hate crimes exist, you don't have to be from South Carolina to sign it. They just need a signature if you don't mind signing it. And if you're from South Carolina, contact your local senator and let them know how important this bill is and what it means to people of South Carolina.
I contacted the senator and gave my voice opinion on it. So hopefully it helps.
Right. Okay, so this is...
Well, give Suzanne Andrews our best from chat.
Yeah, I told her that everybody at the show is with them in spirit. We are there with them in spirit. Thank you. I appreciate that.
She's done a lot,
So there's she's done an amazing job. What is this? Somebody... Oh, wow. Look at that, people. Okay. How do I get to the picture that you're talking about, SRB? Where's that? 2019? I will. I would love to have her back on. I'm gonna reach out to her and see what, see if she'd like to come back on, if there's any updates or anything she'd like to talk about. It was awesome having her on. That's 2022. I went to photos and was scrolling through. All right, we'll just skip to 2019.
Is it too loud? I'm outside having a cigarette.
Oh, I skipped it. No, you're fine. I guess I skipped it.
Okay.
Whoa, now it's going crazy. What the hell? Hold on 1 second. But yeah, they're starting the process. So that's exciting news. So hopefully soon something takes place. Now, we're going to, in a second here, I'm going to try and find this picture, but in a second, we're going to get into some of the full report just the page that talks about what we just listened to. Okay, so I'm going to read you what it says. I don't see anything 2019. It goes from 2020, December 25th, 2019, November, October. Okay, yeah, not very many pictures. I don't. Maybe if you want to take a screenshot and send it, SRB. Take a screenshot. So let's see here. We're gonna switch to this full report. We'll go back to this other screen here. No, I'm pretty sure it is. There's something I came across. I can't remember where I saw it, but there's something that came across that it showed all of it. Oh, thank you, Jinx. I appreciate that. You didn't have to donate. Thank you for signing it as well. Because I mean, come on, every state should have a hate crime bill, right?
Right.
Come on. I mean, it's a hate crime. Those exist. And it's
Well, now
not
South
singling anybody
Carolina,
out.
now South Carolina passed a bill for sextortion, sexting or sextortion over the phone,
Yep. Yeah, that's.
but they
yeah.
won't pass the hate crime.
I don't understand. It doesn't make sense.
I don't either.
But I have a good feeling if Suzanne Andrews is behind it and she's able to get the signatures she needs and she's able to go up there, I have a good feeling. Because she's an amazing person. If
Yes.
you'd ever like to watch when she came on the show, here you can. I'll put the link up in chat. You can go ahead and save it to a playlist and check it out sometime. She was on for a little over an hour, and it was a great experience and just very interesting. Just learning everything about her side and her story, and then how she represented Stephen with the GoFundMe for the headstone, and just how that all took place and stuff. And it was just a great story. What a beautiful person. So, here it is right here. 2018. Okay, tires, big old tires, and dark blue truck. I don't know if it's truck, but the tires caught my eye. All right, let me click to this real quick. It's kind of hard to see right here. I wish you could zoom in. So if you want to take a screenshot, you can take one real quick and then zoom into it. It definitely has some high tread type tires on it. It is a big truck. And I don't know, I don't see any extended mirrors on it though. So it might not be the truck. But you never know. Okay. Now this is from December 18th, 2015. So this is like 5 months or whatever later. Let me get back to chat here. Maybe the type of vehicle. Well, yeah, if you're working on farms and you're out mudding and all that stuff, Yeah, thank you again, Jinx. Appreciate that. Yeah, she is so awesome. Amazing. Aw. Thank you, Lynx. I appreciate that. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and read this. This is the full report. Thank you again, SRB, for this. And this is just one page, basically. It's very interesting. Look at this. It's not even a full page. Not even a full page. I received information from Corporal Duncan about an individual, Daryl Williams. He is stating that his stepson Patrick Wilson told him that Shawn Conley struck and killed Stephen Smith. Mr. Okay, hold on a minute. When we just heard that voice interview, that's not what was said. What was said is Daryl Williams stated that his son Patrick told him that his friend Shawn called him because he hit something, but he was just going home. And that he went to go see what he hit the next morning when he woke up, and that's when he saw all the LE there and decided to turn around. So why am I reading it in this report that it says that I received information from Corporal Duncan about an individual, Daryl Williams, and is stating that his stepson Patrick Wilson told him that Shawn Conley struck and killed Stephen Smith?
Yeah, that don't make sense.
What? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Williams stated that his son told him this in confidence and that his son had moved out and he did not know where he was staying. Of course, you don't
Yeah,
know.
of course.
He could only tell me that Patrick attended some Christian school in Ridgeland. I drove down to Ridgeland and went to Step of Faith School. Patrick Wilson was not a student there. I then found Legacy Utah Baptist Church School. Patrick Wilson is a student there, but was not at school today. I then drove to Hampton attempting to locate an address for Patrick. I could not get his stepfather to return my calls. Mr. Williams stated that the reason that he was passing this information on was because Randy Murdaugh told him to call. Now, we did hear that part. That's the only part that we heard out of the whole freaking sound clip that we just heard, was that this ending right here. Mr. Williams stated that the reason he was passing this information on was because Randy Murdaugh told him to call.
See, what does Randy have to do with it?
And this is what makes me think that this whole theory doesn't make sense. Because, number one, why was Randy showing up at the scene offering to represent the family while they were sitting at the LE waiting to ID the body? They hadn't even ID'd this is from the mother, and you can check it. They had not even ID'd the body. They were sitting in the waiting room, and Randy was contacting her husband. And then they said, well, and she said, yeah, when we were driving home, we drove by and I saw Randy and Alec at the scene. And then when I got home, Randy called me and said, hey, was that you that just passed by? And she said, yeah. And he goes, well, I feel bad because I wish you would have stopped. I could have, we could have met.
He's a workman comp lawyer.
Yeah, and the guy goes, well, how did Randy get your phone number? And she goes, well, he got it from my husband while we were sitting in the waiting room waiting to ID the body because we hadn't even ID'd the body yet, and he was offering to do the case pro bono.
Right.
So that's what doesn't make sense to me is, number one, why Randy's showing up at the crime scene right off the bat before the body's even ID'd and calling the people that are connected to it before he even gets the ID. Because the wallet was left in the car, so there was no identification there. The wallet was in the car. It's not like he could have went through his pockets and saw the wallet. And he was stating that he needed his phone, his tablet. He needed 2 phones and a tablet and all the passwords in order to represent them pro bono as well.
No, he wanted to get information off of it.
Right. Excuse me.
Wow.
Did you know this? Did you know that when they went to reinvestigate and they could not crack the phone open because it was an Apple. So they had a hard time cracking the phone, but they never sent it off to get it cracked. So while it was sitting there and sitting there and sitting there, somebody that was in charge of all the evidence, we read that a couple nights ago, somebody that was in charge of all the evidence, the swabs, the shorts, the shirt, all of that, the
Right.
phones, they went to go try and get the phone so they could try and crack it or have it cracked, and they didn't even know where the phone was at. So then they checked the chain of custody, and there was no chain of custody for the phone. So who knows who had the phone at that point? Who knows what was done to the phone at that point?
Right. Do you think Murdaugh's got a hold of it?
Somebody did.
Yeah.
There's no chain of custody. And when you're all elected officials and you all hang out in the same group and you're all part of the Good Boy Network, you have a lot of pats on each other's backs and
it was brought out that was true with Alec and Sled, Alec and the state police. I mean, he had a lot of connections in all of them.
Thank you. I appreciate
you do
that.
me a favor, and I do you a favor.
So this is what doesn't make sense, is why would Randy be so involved if Shawn really did this? And why would Daryl then say, well, the only reason I'm telling you this is because Randy Murdaugh told me to call you?
Right.
And there's no recording that we know of Daryl Williams' statement. They can't reach Daryl Williams. They can't get him to return any calls. Nobody knows where Patrick Wilson's at.
I agree with Jinx.
Because he already knew. Yeah, to create a different... This is what I was thinking. Yeah, Randy told him to call because he wanted to throw out a different narrative.
Yep. Deflect.
Let's throw out some other theories so it dilutes the one that actually took place. It's just diluting.
But always a Murdaugh involved in everything.
But this is what I don't understand. What would Randy especially have to do with this? What does he have to do with Mr. Williams? What does he have to do with Patrick? What does he have to do with Shawn?
Well, now it's making me wonder what they found at the murder investigation of Paul and Maggie. If it's the Shawn.
Because that's what reopened the case. 2 weeks after they started investigating Maggie and Paul's unaliving is when they got the information that they made them reopen the case. So it was something. So was it a phone message?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, we've heard speculative stories about Paul running his mouth about shit. The reports of him telling his friends, if you don't lie and say that I wasn't driving the boat, then I'm going to tell on everybody.
Right.
How he supposedly, and we need to see if this is true. We need to fact check this one. If he really was transferred from one school to another, how he was claiming at one school that Buster was the one that committed the crime. And then instead of the school bringing in and having a conference with Paul, the family, and L.E., the school just had Paul and his family, and then he was transferred to a private school the next day.
Right. Now, was Shawn and Patrick friends, like SRB said? Was Shawn and Patrick friends with Paul or Buster?
All right. I don't remember. I wish I could remember where
Yeah,
I
I
seen
don't
this
remember.
at, but there was a picture of eight or 10 individuals. And let me see if I have it saved in one of my folders. There was a picture of 8 to 10 individuals where they were all friends on these social media accounts, and they were all friends in real life, and they all tagged each other, and they all hung out as a group. And it was their own little Good Boys network, and that included Paul and Buster. Let me see here. I know I seen it somewhere. I'm not sure if I took a screenshot of it. Let me see. Murdaugh. No, it's not there. Let me check one more folder. But there was like 8 of them or 10 of them that were all this group. And I think, honestly, I think those two... No, I don't have it. I think those two were part of that big group. And the only thing I can think of is that because they were friends with Paul or Buster, but it just doesn't make sense. Even if you're friends, why would they jump pro bono and, you know, run the whole... I don't know. I just don't understand. What's the tie? There's got to be a tie, and I don't understand what the tie is. I could see him because they're friends with Paul or Buster, but, you know, if it's your friend and they did something, then why would your uncle, your friend's uncle, stick his neck out? I don't know. And you're not even... You're a personal injury lawyer. I don't... Even if they were friends. You thought it was Paul, Jinx? I don't want to speak. Paul was... No, I mean, you could see that there's a lot of posts coming out about people that like adults that hung out with the Murdaugh adults, and what they were saying about their experiences when they were on trips or going on events and stuff, and who was causing issues and who was, you know, respectful and all that stuff. Yeah. It is confusing. I don't know, and this is confusing too, because because tomorrow afternoon I'm going to be doing the read through of this whole full report, and that's all it's going to be, is just a read through, and that's all I'm going to do, and then I'll get back on later. This is interesting because if I'm listening to all these, you know, because all we've heard is these voice interviews. And if this is what I'm reading in this report, according to what the voice interview that we've listened to, it's like totally different. So I'm very interested to do this whole read through, because if this is any indication of what's in this report, there's going to be a lot of stuff in this. So it's going to be interesting reading through all of that. There's a bigger... it doesn't match up.
Sorry. I just got a message that Iowa Hawkeye girls are playing South Carolina tonight.
Oh, yeah, the women's Final Four. I thought it was Paul. Why do you think it was Paul? I'm not sure about Buster, but Paul was served justice. It's so hard to know. Why do you think it's Paul, Jinx? If you want to hop up, you're more than welcome, and let us know why you think it's Paul. I don't know. Do you? It's just weird. Steven says to Mark that there's two guys, rednecks in a truck, harassing him. Now there was somebody else. I think it was Ben. You know what? Let me go back. Let me go into this here. I want to share this with you because since you think it's Paul Jinx, I want to share this part with you. Let me go to another part of Eric Allen's videos here, and I'm going to play that part where it starts off with Ben, because with you thinking that Paul was involved, Ben speaks of 2 to 3 individuals, and they say Buster was there. So let me find this video. It will switch to that. Let me see here. This one right here. So this one includes Buster here. Michael. Let me see. I think it goes to Ben. Let me see here. Yeah, here, I'll throw this up. If you, Jinx, or anybody else would like to hop up, you're more than welcome. I thought, yeah. I thought they were all friends together, Jinx. I wish I could remember where I seen. It was like a picture of 8 or 10 individuals. It was like their own group that always hung out, and it had Paul and Buster in it. And I think Shawn, because it was right after we learned about the Shawn and Patrick theory. I might just go back to my old show, honestly, because I know that we showed it on the show. I know it was right after we learned about the Shawn and Patrick theory, and then we came across that because we were digging up some socials, and then that's when I seen that picture, and I'm pretty sure because it didn't have Xavier in it. It had I'm trying to think. Gosh, I wish I'm gonna have to go back to that old show, and I'm gonna find out where I got that information, and I'm gonna get it again, and I'll have it. I wish I could remember. I have so many links, so it's hard keeping track. All right, so this is the part that they talk about Buster being involved, the 2 to 3. Ben's talking. Ben's talking for an interview, and then he kind of discusses the whole tree of who heard it from who, from who, from who, from who. Now, it is a game of telephone. So you got to understand that some things might change as each person goes, but it stays pretty much similar for the most part when it comes to the bare minimum of it. So we will skip to right here. Let me see what it says, because we're going to be reading through this report tomorrow. And if you'd like to join me, you're more than welcome to add your commentary while we do this full read through. It'll probably be about 2 to 3 hours for the full read through I'm anticipating, but it could take as quick as 1 hour, just depending on how much commentary and all that stuff. Buster looks bad on the Steven Netpo. Yeah, these storms are crazy tonight. I need to double check to see what's going on here, because I know it's an hour after everything was coming through. Had a tornado. Oh, wow. Prayers. Yeah. Man, the ones in Arkansas today too, and then Iowa. Man, I seen the one in Iowa and Illinois. That's just, it's just crazy. I wondered that too, but the age, they were all like 19, weren't they? Yeah. Yeah, they were like 18, 19 years old. And that's a good point to bring up, Jinx, too, is Paul. Yeah, he would have been. Didn't Paul ride big? He did. No, I don't see him. I don't see him. I don't see him committing it though. I don't think he would have been. I think if there was a baseball bat involved, I think he would have got tossed more than. Yes, it is. It's crazy. Makes smaller towns probably all hung out regardless of age. Yeah, I mean, he was probably the hang around, the dude that got picked on a lot from the older dude, the brother and the friends. Probably got picked on a lot, probably looked up to them. What do you think? This was kind of like, well, they talked him into it kind of thing, like he was trying to, like, peer pressure. Is that what you are meaning? Like a peer pressure kind of thing? There's a 4-year difference. Small town, always hung out with me and older kids. All kind of hung out together. So do you think it was like a peer pressure thing, or what? Jinx and SRB, are you two thinking the same thing? Yeah, let me know. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's definitely part of it. And the case was reopened when they were investigating that family. So yeah, definitely. This is what I'm thinking. I wasn't even thinking the Shawn and Patrick theory was even. I thought that was the least probable, just because number one, Randy showed up at the scene, contacted the family before it was even ID'd. Number two, Randy told Daryl to tell this story. So I just automatically thought, oh, he's just trying to dilute the real story to create doubt, because another theory could have taken place. So that's why I thought it was the least probable. That's why I thought it was either Buster and some friends, or Marc. But just speculation. I'm thinking Buster was getting raised over Steven, and Buster did it. Yeah, we did in the beginning. When we started talking about this case, there was a lot of conversation about them two being involved. And actually, I think that was when we first started talking about it, when there was conversation about them being involved. He was gonna, reveal about Buster, and Buster didn't want that to take place. Right. But I'm not so sure about that, just because I don't know. I don't know. It's weird how stuff kind of ties together, but then it's like, well, but if it ties together, then how does it make sense? Small town boys hazing each other, and Buster was going. Yeah, that's what I initially started feeling when we first started this. And it's definitely one of my theories that I think took place. The other one I think is Marc. And I don't know. I just have this feeling that the theory about Marc just makes a lot more sense with where it happened, what took place, how it took place, why it took place. And I'll go into that when I do the theories, probably on tomorrow night. But I will go into that because I've been waiting to go into it for over a week now. But we'll be saving that for the specific show. All right, so we're going to go ahead and listen to this part. This is the part where Buster's involvement in the theory and the whole web of what was being talked about around the locals of the similar ages.
to understand why she disagreed with the coroner. Here's an officer's report. The reason I went and spoke with her was due to a preliminary report where she stated that the victim
You'll
was
have to wait
possibly
till
struck by a
tomorrow.
motor vehicle mirror, which was the cause of death. Sergeant Moore had already had, from my understanding, a heated conversation with her about this issue. She stated that she could not even begin speaking with me about this case without the
This is
coroner's
another
consent.
fishy part.
I advised her that I had spoken with Coroner Washington the day before, and she basically called me a liar, and she said she would call him right then. When I asked if she wanted me to call from my cell phone, she backed off. I asked her why she stated that in the report, and her answer was because he was found in the road. She had no evidence other than that for the statement being put in the report. I asked her if someone with a baseball bat could do that, and she stated no. When I probed further, saying, what about someone in a moving car with a baseball bat? She stated, well, I guess it's possible. As I was leaving, she stated that the report was preliminary, and it was my job to figure out what it was that struck him, not hers. So at this point, it seems clear that it wasn't a gunshot wound that killed Stephen. It was blunt force trauma. However, the circumstances surrounding the blunt force trauma were still very unclear. And because the pathologist ruled it a hit and run, the Highway Patrol ended up in charge of investigating what everyone but the pathologist believed to be a homicide. I've listened to hours of interviews and read through pages and pages of documents to prepare for this episode. Throughout the course of the investigation, 4 potential theories seemed to surface, one of which seems to implicate the most prominent and powerful family in town. Let's take a look at the Murdaugh family again. Paul and Maggie were found shot in June of 2021 at the family hunting lodge. We haven't covered Alec much up to this point, but we're going to have episodes devoted to him later in this series. This episode, we're going to be talking about Buster Murdaugh. Buster and Stephen went to the same school and graduated the same year at Wade Hampton High School. The first mention I could find of the Murdaugh name being brought up was in an officer's interview with a family member of Stephen. Most names you hear from this point forward will be changed to respect the privacy of those involved.
I just left the house the first official time yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
And I went into the store, and a bunch of people kept coming up to me, and they're like, did you know the Murdaugh boys are behind it? You know, saying Buster Murdaugh, the one we went to school with, did it, and some of his friends.
The officer asks where she heard this rumor from and does his best to trace it to the source.
That she was at church and that both of y'all had spoken about Stephen's death, about Buster Murdaugh. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I told her that another friend of mine had texted me asking me if Buster and Stephen were together. And I told him no. I said, not that I knew of. And then I asked him why. He said because he had heard that. And then I asked him who he heard it from. And he said he didn't know. He just heard it.
Was that message from?
It was from, yes.
Okay. Have you got his phone number?
And she wasn't the only person who heard it from Michael.
I heard that 2, maybe 3 young men were in a vehicle. They were riding down 601, saw the car on the side of the road. I guess saw the boy walking. They turned back around. I guess they were attempting to, mess around with him or something like that, and stuck something out the window, and it, hit him in, I don't know if it hit him in the head or the back or where it hit him. And then that's pretty much all I heard. I did hear names, and I heard a name, and that name was, he goes by Buster Murdaugh. I've known Buster pretty much my whole life. He's a grade under me. We went to school together, played baseball together. Kind of out of character to who I knew, but I did also hear from the same source that he could possibly have been on some type of drugs. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's just strictly hearsay from all I know.
Would it have been Buster driving?
I would have imagined so. To know Buster, usually he drove himself around. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, he was always the one. They were in his vehicles. He always had friends with him in his vehicles when he was driving around. Or that's how it was in school.
There had to be more than one. And then if Buster was the one driving, that means somebody else the one that hit Stephen. Did he tell you where he had gotten this information?
Yes, sir. He got it from, I think her first name is, and then she heard it from,
And I'll put the
which is
link to
Buster
this
Murder's
video
best
in the
friend.
chat too, so you can.
And when I
have a
originally
link
heard
to
this, I was thinking of the younger Murdoch boy, Buster's little brother Paul, because Paul's more the, I won't say troublemaker, but he's
There
a
you
little
go,
more,
Jinx.
my last name is Murdoch, I can do whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It went to his head a lot more.
You're right. He was more that type of kid.
It seems as if the officer is finally getting somewhere. Ben says he heard it from Michael, who heard it from Victoria, who heard it from Colby, who heard it from Buster. The officer keeps moving down the line.
So just go ahead and tell me the version of the story that you heard.
Alright, so I was with some friends one night, and I really wanted my friends to say that, I mean, we already knew, like, he got hit or whatever, and we didn't know who did it, but we just heard that Buster did it. So after that, I mean, everybody know who Buster is, and, like, his family and all that, so it was kind of, like, shocking, so we just kept talking about it, and I guess it spread it around, like, a lot.
Can you tell me what you heard about the Stephen Smith incident?
I just heard
Okay. And who was that?
Buster Murdoch.
Okay.
You was the guy that told me that.
There was a guy that told you that?
Yes, sir.
And did he say where he heard that from or how he was backing that up?
No, sir.
So he just said, oh, I heard Buster did it.
Yes, sir.
Did he say how he did it or what happened?
Yes, he did. He said they beat him up and threw him out the truck.
Beat him up and threw him out the truck?
Yes, sir.
Did Stephen have enemies?
From me as a friend, I didn't know any.
Yeah, because, I mean, from everybody I've been talking to, I mean, everybody knew Stephen's lifestyle, of course. But nobody really had issue with that. Like, so I don't understand, like, why, I mean, and I've even asked people about Buster in particular, like, did he not like this guy? And they were like, no, I mean, so why do you think, how does that make sense?
It doesn't to me. It doesn't add up to me.
When the officer asks Victoria who she heard it from, she says Chandler. He even brings up Colby by name, and she says she didn't hear it from him. I can't find anywhere in the case files that they reached out to Chandler, but that doesn't mean they didn't. It just means they didn't make it available, and I'm not sure why. So everyone seems to have heard this rumor, but no one seems to know exactly where it came from. It seems as if the officer is trying to figure out if the reason he can't find anything is because there's just no truth to the rumor, or if it's because people are just too scared to talk.
My office is out of Charleston, okay? I don't work around Hampton. I know the Murdochs are highfalutin around Hampton, and, some people say have a lot of power or whatever, but that name doesn't mean anything to me. My job is to find out, you don't have to agree with Stephen's lifestyle, but that don't mean that he gets to be killed and nobody gets to find out what happened. I can tell you this because I know it kind of went back and forth, and there were different rumors about it, him possibly getting hit by a car and this and that. He didn't get hit by no car. Stephen's, his story deserves to be told, and that's what I'm working for.
The officer asks if anyone had heard that Buster and Stephen were involved before Stephen's death, or did this rumor come about afterward?
Had you ever heard of Stephen and Buster being involved with at all before this?
No, sir, I haven't.
So this was the first time you'd ever heard about something like this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you know Stephen at all?
Yes, sir. He was my best friend.
A few months later, an anonymous tip comes in that Xavier, along with another black male and a white male, Buster, are the ones involved in Stephen's death.
Somebody said he got hit by a car or something. That's what you heard. He didn't get hit by a car. He did? Now someone murdered him. That's what I'm saying. For what? Why would somebody do that to him? I have no idea. He wouldn't bother nobody, I don't think. Because he was our, when I played football, he was our trainer. I mean, on the team every now and then in school, but other than that, I didn't have to see. Sure, at school, some kids with the last name Murdaugh. I know a girl, but that's about it. You know the boys? It wasn't too many Murdaugh. Well, it was one, he graduated with Steve. Right. You hang out with him? Never did. Did you ever go to any of his parties at any time? No, sir. Well, here's the thing. You know, your name's been brought up as a link.
And it was checked out. He is friends with Buster on social media. So he knows who Buster is.
In his death. So, I mean, if there's anything that you want to say about it, you know, I'd hate to see you go down with whoever killed this boy.
Well, I wasn't there. Didn't nobody until later after he died. I heard he was hit by a car. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. No, he wasn't.
This interview just doesn't seem to go anywhere, and this is the last reference to them investigating the Murdaugh theory in the case files that I received. Here's what Jessica Smith and Stephen's mother had to say about the Murdaugh rumors at the time of Stephen's death.
You know, saying Buster Murdaugh, the one we went to school with, did it, and some of his friends, and I'm just sitting here like, why? You know, it makes no sense. He's never said anything bad about Stephen. He's never been around Stephen to, you know, I was mind-boggled at that, and I kind of ignored it. And, you know, I haven't heard any more about that.
Has anybody talked to your mom about, you know, rumors and things like that? Has she heard anything that you know of?
She's heard the same exact stuff I've heard, but she's more stuck on Marc did it, and all that, so.
So, who was Marc, and what are the other theories surrounding the death of Stephen? Well, I'll be covering those in the next episode. While nothing can be done to bring Stephen back, his family deserves answers. During the investigation into the murders of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, SLED received information that caused them to reopen Stephen's case. We don't know what that information is, but we do know that SLED investigates homicides, and this is great news for the friends and family of Stephen. Stephen's mother said this about her son. I just want to know what really happened to my son, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get justice. This is going to be my first Thanksgiving without him. Just seeing that empty chair there is going to be really hard. I know when Stephen was born, but I don't know exactly when he died. I know what his first words were, but I need to know what his last words were. I want to know who took my son from me.
Man. Yeah, good night. I'm hearing these crazy storms too, actually. It's kind of nuts. Good night. Thank you for hopping in. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, if you don't see any notifications, then you know I don't have any power. Yeah, be safe. Jeez, it's getting crazy. So yeah, that's the whole part of the Buster side. But yeah, see you tomorrow. Thank you. I can't wait for Monday. I'm very interested to learn more about that case. Thank you, appreciate it. Very interested to learn more about the case. I don't know. Like, there's not much in this report. This is basically all that is stated, pretty much, from what I think is all in the report. This is the only part. You go to detective or an interview with Dontario Aiken from Corporal Hoffman, and before that, it's about the paint chips on the close. So I don't know. We'll go through the full read through tomorrow. If anybody would like to hop in, you're more than welcome. Not worried if I do it by myself. It ain't no thing. I just need to put it out there. And then we'll go into whatever the theories and thoughts are. You know, if you have a theory and you want to share it, you know, hop on up. I want to hear everybody's theory. So it'll be theories and thoughts.
What time tomorrow?
I'm not sure. Probably it might be 6 or 7. It's probably going to be, you know, around the usual time when I get on.
Okay.
Around 6 or 7. Because I'll probably, I'm thinking about, I don't know. If I wake up like crazy early and I just don't feel like hitting the snooze, then I might hop up and start one at like 10 or something my time, or I might start one at like noon or 1 or something. But I'll definitely when I'm up in the morning, because I always wake up in the morning no matter what, so I'll just throw out a notification with a better idea of when. So it'll be a few hours before I actually do it, so everybody would know. But it ain't no thing if I do it by myself. I just need to have a video that's dedicated just to the read through of this, so that way we can go back to it at any time and kind of go through it. And I don't have to know what episode it's in. I can just go to my videos and use it, or go back to refer to it if I need to. You know, if I'm busy doing something, and then I can just listen to the full read through of it. I don't actually have to have it in front of me reading it. I can just listen to it while I'm busy doing something. So yeah, we'll do that tomorrow. But yeah, this I don't know. It definitely, this is I don't know. I'm just confused because it's very interesting that the attorneys feel it was a hit and run. It definitely is when you go off of Mark's statements when it comes to what he heard before the phone went out. Mark's statements about what Steven was telling him when he was running out of gas and going to get gas, and why he didn't get gas. You know, it definitely lines up. But then you also have this, you know, like Ben was stating in these the last theories that we heard about Buster's involvement. You know, 2 or 3 guys. One of them was the guy that they interviewed last that was very evasive. I don't know who he is. I never hung out with him. Oh, I know his sister. So it's just, I don't know. There's so many, like we were talking about what we think Randy was doing. He was trying to he was trying to dilute the theory that was the truth by putting different theories out there. So then we get to the point where we're like, okay, could it have been the 2 or 3 guys that were different than Shawn and Patrick? Because the Shawn and Patrick theory is completely different than the theory that Ben had. Ben has different people with Buster in the truck. Then Ben was talking about how he could see Paul, you know, being involved as well. So then you got the theory of it not being a hit and run, of some kind of other crime where it's not a hit and run but involves the same people. So you got 4 different theories right there. Then you got another theory that involves Marc because of where the car was located and the fact that he wouldn't be walking an hour and a half to go home when he was supposedly going to Marc's house, right? So that's a theory. Like there's so many theories right there. Just 5 right there. And each one of them could exist. And it's like, okay, where do you go? So obviously their investigation, this is what I'm assuming. Not that I know, but I'm just assuming that their investigation of information that they got from Maggie and Paul's crime led them to these two people. Unless somebody's talking. Because, like the sled agent said, they were waiting for the Murdaugh trial to get over. So then they were hoping that after the Murdaugh trial was over, that then somebody would be more comfortable to come talk. What do you think it is, Kip Kitty? Do you think it's somebody that's coming up more willing to talk? Do you think that the evidence they found in the homicide of Maggie and Paul that led them to reopen the case, do you think that ties the people that they already have as initial suspects in the murder?
I'm just confused of what they found for evidence against Shawn and Patrick. I just don't understand that. I think people are starting to talk, actually, because the powerful Alec is in prison.
And I don't even know. I would have to read the actual, if there's an actual report out there, if anybody has it. Actually, you know what? Let me play a video from CDT. Give me 1 second. Because maybe she actually has the document on it. Because I'm wondering, it might not have been, evidence at the crime scene. It could have been just evidence as in somebody, them. This is what I was thinking, okay? And I don't know. This is because I haven't really got into this part. I just literally found out about it, came home, and got ready to do the show. So really, I had no time to really check this out. But when I first heard it, I sat there and I went, okay, why was Randy so involved? Is what I first thought. Then I thought and then I thought to myself, that was the least probable theory I thought would have existed because of Randy's involvement in two areas. And then I thought to myself, is this a way to work up the ladder? We're going to investigate these two people because it's a theory that was put out there and it was a statement from Daryl. So they're just investigating the first theory and then they're going to work on a process of elimination, or they're going to use that theory and those people because obviously they have some sort of involvement according to Daryl. Well, then if you didn't do it, then you need to tell us what you know.
Yeah.
So is it a way to work up the ladder? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. But then again, the attorneys are stating that they feel it was a hit and run. So they know a lot more than we do.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I just don't understand that.
I don't understand the hit and run thing. It's just,
I really don't.
You would have had more injuries on him if it was a hit and run.
I mean, you listen to all the statements from the LE,
right?
Every single one of them are like, this is not, there's no signs to show it. They all talk about the shoes. They all talk about the injuries. You're going to have more injuries.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and share this video real quick, and this will give us an update on it. This is CDT. I started out watching Amber, ATS News, and CDT. They had a show together that they used to do when I first started watching them. They had a channel together. and or they did a show together, and I've just kind of been watching them all these years. Hello, Cassie. So CDT, so I'm going to play her video of when this came out about the two persons of interest.
Hello, everyone.
I'll be right.
Welcome to my channel. I hope that you guys are all doing well, having a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are. I am going to read through this article that came out today, Friday, March 31st, 2023, stating that they have named two persons of interest in the homicide of Stephen Smith. Stephen Smith's death was originally ruled a hit and run, but was reopened as a homicide investigation. So we're going to read through this article. If you want a more deep dive into the case of Stephen Smith, check out ATS News. Her channel is linked in the description. But she did a live stream detailing the case, and it's very informative. So I'm just going to jump right into this article. Stephen Smith probe. Bombshell report names persons of interest in his killing. The Murdochs were rumored to be behind Smith's killing, but a lawyer for Stephen's South Carolina family says that there is no evidence of a connection. South Carolina authorities have zeroed in on two persons of interest in the 2015 homicide of Stephen Smith, who was found dead in the middle of the road miles from Alec Murdaugh's former hunting estate. Rumors have swirled that the Murdochs were somehow involved in the 19-year-old's July 8th slaying, and the name of the once powerful legal dynasty is referenced dozens of times in the original Highway Report. But SLED has identified Patrick Wilson and Shawn Conley as persons of interest, neither of whom are Murdochs, according to the local news site. SLED did not immediately return a request for comment. Wilson and Conley could not be immediately reached. Both Wilson and Conley lived in the area near where Stephen Smith's body was found, and there is information obtained by SLED investigators which has reportedly drawn a sharper focus on them as potential suspects. About 5 months after Stephen's death, Wilson's stepfather, Darrell Williams, allegedly called investigators with a tip. His stepson, he said, told him that Conley was driving a vehicle when it struck and killed Stephen Smith. Wilson and Conley were teenagers at the time. At one point, I heard big mud tires. They're like coming toward him or going past because they sounded loud and they were getting louder. And that, I believe, was the last time I talked to him. And that is a statement that Stephen Smith's boyfriend, Marc Bighart, gave to law enforcement. SLED opened a homicide investigation into Smith's death on June 23rd, 2021, about 2 weeks after Alec Murdaugh fatally shot his wife Maggie, 52, and his son Paul, 22. Smith was found 10 miles from the Murdaugh hunting estate where Maggie and Paul were killed. Speculation raged in the wake of Alec's conviction for the double murder that his living son Buster was involved. Earlier this month, Buster issued a statement denying he had anything to do with Smith's demise. A lawyer for Smith's mother, Sandy Smith, told Fox News Digital there was no evidence the Murdochs were connected to the killing. We have no direct knowledge that any Murdaugh was involved in any shape or form in Stephen's murder, Eric Bland said. He added that Smith was openly gay and that the case had the earmarking of a hate crime. The local news site also published Highway Patrol investigators' initial 2015 interviews with Sandy Smith, Smith's twin sister, Stephanie Joyner, a man with whom Smith allegedly had a one-night stand, and Smith's then-boyfriend, Marc Bighart. Investigators interviewed a divorced father of one who said he came across an ad that Smith had posted on Craigslist, and that the two had a one-night stand about a week before the killing. No money was exchanged, the man said. And this is a graphic that shows where Stephen Smith's body was found in Hampton County, South Carolina. Sandy Smith later contacted him. He told police and said that she suspected foul play. He allegedly told her that there was a remote possibility that Stephen's death might somehow be related to his sexually explicit Craigslist ads. There are some crazy people out there, he allegedly told her. Bickhart had exchanged text messages with Stephen as late as 3:37 a.m., less than half an hour before his body was found. Pathologist Aaron Presnell ruled Stephen Smith's death as a hit and run over the objections of highway patrol officers who responded to the scene and said that Stephen's injuries were not consistent with her conclusion. Smith was found on Sandy Run Road, 3 miles from his car, which was out of gas. There were no tire marks in the road and no abrasions to his body that would indicate he had slid across asphalt or debris from a collision. His wallet and keys were still in the car. So just to reiterate that, no tire marks in the road, no abrasions on his body that would indicate he had slid across asphalt or debris from a collision. And his wallet and keys were still in his car. Bickhart at one point suggested that an escort agency has something to do with this, referring to a Hilton Head Island-based service that Smith allegedly worked for at the time, according to Fitz News. In one of their final calls, Smith told Bickhart that he was out of gas and that he thought he was being followed before the call dropped. According to the interview, at one point, I heard big mud tires, Bickhart said. They're like coming toward him or going past because they sounded loud, and they were getting louder, and that, I believe, was the last time I talked to him. So
Well,
again,
that
if you
lines
want
up
to
with
learn
somebody's
more,
truck.
check out ATS News, but the name.
So that lines up with somebody's truck. And I'm sure there's a lot of trucks around there that had tires that sounded like that. Again,
Yeah.
if you want to
I
sub
thought-
to her, that's CDT.
I thought his keys were in his pocket.
Yeah, his keys were half in his pocket, half out. His cell phone was inside of his pocket. Nothing was wrong with the cell phone.
But the report said the keys and the wallet were in the car.
No, the keys. The report said the keys were in the car. Just the wallet
she
was
was
in the car.
reading
It
it.
was shoved in between the door and the seat.
Yeah, when she was reading it, she said the wallet and the keys were in the car.
I'll have to. Well, I'm doing the full read through tomorrow, so we'll have to see what it says. Let me see here. Let me go. I'm gonna put up a graphic. So we're gonna be showing some graphic content here for a few minutes. Give me 1 second. So if you want to pause and then skip ahead about 7 minutes, then go ahead. I'm just trying to get on my profile here on Twitter. All right, let's go. Let me see here. Where's that at? Okay. So yeah, go ahead and pause it. Skip ahead 7 minutes if you're on pause. This is some graphic content. And this is the source for this information. I'll put the link in chat. Let me see here. So if you want to take a screenshot, go ahead. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to check it. It might be. We'll see. But who knows? I mean, the whole Daryl story was different when we read it on the report. So who knows? But as far as I know, everything that I've heard was that the keys were half in, half out of the pocket. The cell phone was in the pocket. The wallet was left in the vehicle. The doors were locked on the vehicle. And the wallet was in between the door and the seat. Almost like it was placed there for a reason. See, I'm wondering if the vehicle was left that way to make it appear and then got a ride. I just don't understand why you would walk back an hour and a half when you could have waited for somebody, especially when your sister was waiting up all night. Exactly, SRB. When I saw these pics, I was like, yeah, I don't think he was placed there. That doesn't look like somebody that was placed there. But this is what... Okay, when I saw these pictures, all right, this is what got me thinking, okay, wait a minute. I need to look into this house some more. Whoa, come back. It got me thinking I need to look at this house some more. Because I'm wondering, because this is where it was at, right here. So I'm wondering, actually right up there is where it was at. Let me see if I can move it a little bit more. Yeah, it was right up here. Okay. I'm wondering, this is vacant. We found out from Suzanne Andrews that this house, nobody was living there at the time. This house was completely vacant. So, and when you look at the bird's eye view, right? Totally covered up. Come on. Look at this. Totally covered up. This is the house right here. See? Look at all these woods. And then when we're talking, when you're hearing people, the LE that were there, right, during the time, they said the corn was really high. And when you're looking at these trees right here that you see right now, they said that there's a lot of trees that have been cut down. So this was like where his body was found, which was basically right here. Okay. Right where my cursor is. That corn was crazy tall. And there was a lot more trees here. They said that a lot of trees have been cleared out on this side. So it also was basically all the way around was covered. What's up, Kib Kitty?
Huh?
Oh, I thought you wanted to say something.
Oh, no. I'm just...
I don't know. When I seen them pictures, it just made me think, okay, well, the body obviously wasn't just dropped there because of the pictures and the injuries. So then I'm going, okay, was this, since we learned from Suzanne Andrews that this house was vacant, because we didn't know that until she was on the show.
Right.
So then now it's got me wondering, was this, because they obviously did a rape kit or an R kit. So is this house involved in the assault, or the property? Is the property involved in the assault? And is this road where it was finished? So did the assault start to take place on that property, and then because it's a vacant property, because when you zoom back from bird's eye view, it's totally, you got one house next to it, but a whole lot of trees in between.
Yeah.
Whole lot of trees in between. Corn, high as hell. A lot more trees that were cut down, according to LE. From the picture to, well, this is from October. Well, shoot. Okay, maybe more of these trees were cut down then, because this is from October of 2009. So this was 6 years before the crime took place. I wonder why
Right.
it's so old. It says 2020 on it. Huh. Maybe if I come back up here. No, still 2009. Interesting. So this is probably what it looked like then before the trees were cut down. But it just makes me wonder, if this house was vacant at the time, is that where the crime took place? Then they finished it out on the street, because he was not dropped off when you look at this. And I'll go back to the graphic warning again before I switch back. Again, if you're on this part, just skip ahead about 3 minutes and then hit pause. All right, we're going to switch back now. So when you look at these pictures, it's obvious that, like, they're, you weren't just put there. So now it makes me wonder, is that where it ended? Because the shoes, loosely tied, still on the feet. Partially dislocated shoulder. And a 7 1/4 inch gaping wound on the side of the head. So,
do you think it could have started at that vacant house and maybe he got away somehow and started running?
No.
And they came after him and did that there? I don't know.
I think I mean, that could be.
Because it looks like his head injury happened right there on the road.
Right. I'm wondering, you bring up a good point too, SRB. Emergency alert, tornado warning. Oh, shoot. I have a tornado warning, everybody.
Well, maybe we better get off. You need to be safe.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end the show, and I will be back on after it passes through. I have a line coming through. Okay, everybody. I was about to end this show anyway, so I want to thank you all for hanging out. I appreciate your company. I apologize for the quick shutdown, and fingers crossed, and I'll be back here live after all this passes through. All right. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining.
Okay.